is 944 Cordova, the last notes after the contractor has left. When he was on site, he installed a 4x4 post sign. When he left, he just removed it, leaving 2 holes and the little piles of dirt from where he dug it out. On the front porch, we were going to paint the ceiling. There was no preparation. The flaking is consistent all over. There's no paint preparation done. Just painted over the flaking paint. Makes it look pretty bad. And these are just examples of what's all over. The floors were redone, tongue and groove, looked nice, except for some reason left a gap there against the wall. When they were doing it, they broke the shingle and didn't replace it. They had broken others and replaced them, but this one was mentioned over and over. And also the painting at the bottom of that corner was just not done, nor on that one, the front door. The front porch rail just had one board that was knocked out, could have easily been tacked back in, one nail. The screens were all replaced. Originally he was going to build them to fit. These are all installed with a trim piece at the bottom and a trim piece at the top to make them fit. He had said that we looked into it, these were the only side rails he could find. They were pre-cut. Home Depot, Lowe's has all of them like 80 inches long that could have been used. I think he found a deal pre-ordered. But the bottoms will now hold water on the side windows that are exposed, and there are more penetrations in the wood to just add to the rot, because even the nail holes in the trim pieces were sunk but not filled. So don't expect those to last long. I bent over nails to hold them in place, and then a nail hole next to it that wasn't filled. A lot of places where nails were left in the wood or holes were not filled. Just an extra hammer, a little wood putty would have been good. Flaking paint. Seems like the more you look, the more you find. Holes in the door, trim around the window, just never prepped, never was scraped or touched before it was painted. Holes around the door, hardware from the old hardware. Big old hole in the door. Front door mounting holes just all over the place. That was just something that was from the very beginning. Fill the holes. The old door hardware didn't fill that, so there's a big hole underneath the handle. Holes in the framing. Just missed spot. Never was painted on the side of the door frame. The walls and ceiling were textured, so we've now got overspray on one of these upper framing pieces that is water-based, could have been wiped off, but it was painted over, so now it's part of the forever. In other areas on ledges, we have the same problem because it was just falling down on that. All around staples that weren't removed, just painted over. Nails that weren't removed, it just painted over. Screws, nails, cable hardware, more cable hardware, big corner drip of paint, more drip paint, more corner drips, more cable hardware, along the bottom, nails and U-hooks that were never removed. The texture on the sheen you can see in areas that were, looks like skim coated with drywall mud to fill in some areas, but never repainted. The granite was installed but wasn't trimmed around on the edges, and where it was chipped up there, it was never replaced. Now around the electric box, it's all gunked up at the bottom. Plate needs to come off, patched, reapplied when it's dry. The windows, of course, nails all over. No surface prep seems to have been done. Don't know how they even painted them with them as dirty as they are. But flaking paint and such. Doesn't look like a new paint job. The holes that were filled consistently are the security pin holes that the windows had drilled in them, so you can put a pin that goes through both sashes for an additional lock. Those are all filled. Originally the windows were going to be operable such that they would open and close, but he got them so that it would open. Supposedly was familiar with old houses, but these windows are held up by cables, ropes, weights in the wall that is accessed by a panel behind this bottom sash. Didn't seem to know anything about that. Thought that would be way too much work to do, so didn't do it. Flaking paint. The ductwork was all replaced or installed, and for some reason, these brown marks around after the installation that were never touched up. Around the wood framing, just the staples, and the lack of preparation, just the quick paint job idea. Holes in the door frame, staples, rough wood, big drips. The shelf took multiple conversations to get reinstalled because it didn't think he could put it back in because of the new cable. I told him to notch it, got the shelf in. However, all the nails that should have been removed, there were a specific requirement at the beginning. Still, nails everywhere. When the electric on-demand water heater was installed, they drilled holes in the floor for installation. Evidently they had to reset them a little because there's an extra set of holes for insect and rodent intrusion that was never filled. And then just more nails and such in the framing. Holes in the framing. Crack in the wall. It's in the closet, but still, why not fix it? A lot of places look like he skimmed over it with drywall mud and then never came back and repainted. And you can tell by the difference in the sheen here and how that's dusty and not paint. And there are several places on this door, and find more of them around the house all the time. In the kitchen, new granite. We wanted a double bank of switches so they can control the outside light and the inside lights. The upper switch here was added later on because he forgot about that. And so now we've got two separate switch locations. Just wasn't patched when they chopped it out around the frame. So just looks bad. Again, staples and nails weren't removed. It's just a little blob. Could have been scraped real quick and fixed. This is just loose, flaking paint. Trim paint around the tile isn't down to the grout. The corners of the cabinets, the install just wasn't very good. Needed a little caulk in the trim. Over the cabinets, still that hole in the wall that's been there since beginning of time. Keep mentioning it. Cabinet doors, evidently they drilled a hole in the wrong side first to install the knob. Just a lousy patch, no paint. Of course, around the windows, more hardware that wasn't removed. Nails, staples. Hardware that wasn't removed. The threshold, the original one, as far as cabinet installation, the gap, sagging door on the right. It should be lifted up, adjustment on the hinges. And again, the crown around there should have been a little caulk or something to make it look finished. Now the threshold. Originally it was a major trip hazard, now it's just a semi-trip hazard. It needs to be a slightly sloping threshold like is in the bathroom. Gradually going up so that people don't trip on it. And I think that's it for that side of the house. Into the hall, the electric box was painted and drywall mudded to the wall. So when you remove the panel box, it chips out the drywall mud. And then some areas were never mudded, and of course it wasn't trim painted to match either. But during the inspection, of course, they have to always take off the panel. So that happens. Additional holes in the wall, nails, holes, staples. Here again is where they did the patch and did not paint it. The drywall mud. House was replumbed. Typically the old houses have access to the shower or tub. They have that here, but the whole point is to have shut-off valves, so in an emergency you can shut that off or you can work on them as no valves. The back bedroom, again a staple in the wall wasn't removed. Scratched up places on the door. Looks like there was gunk in the paint roller or something that just sprayed it on there. Little fibers that are in the paint. The door hinge at the bottom is loose, so the door will drag if you scrape it across the floor. Major drips on the corner of the paint job. Staples that weren't removed, holes holes that weren't filled. The vent was patched on the right-hand side, but they glued the drywall mud all up on the vent, so if that's ever taken apart, it'll break the ceiling up again. All around the windows, staples, holes, painted over tape. There was a piece of tape on the wall, on the window framing, they just painted over. Drips and staple to the right, drips, staples, nails, holes, more staples and holes. The window was closed with wet, so now the paint on the bottom of the sash is scraped up and broken up. And of course it doesn't stay up because no ropes. The window lock on this back window is broken. Of course the hole for the security pin is filled. The back closet doors were sprayed. Obviously they didn't spray from any other angle than the top down. And it was all loose. Inside the closet, there are big gobs of mud and all kinds of crap on the top of the shelf. Hooks that weren't removed. Back edge of the door that wasn't painted. On either side, the back edge. Staples in the wall, holes that weren't filled. Broken roller to go in the track. Holes that weren't filled. Holes in the door that weren't filled. Again, the door was painted, closed before it was dry, and now you've got that where it rips it off. Just crap in the corner wasn't removed. Nails in the shelf weren't removed. Holes in the shelf weren't patched. There's a corner crack. Could have easily been sealed. Top of ledges weren't painted. Crevices. The front of that shelf wasn't painted. Could have just been moved and painted. Crack in the wall wasn't filled. And moving into the hallway again, into the front bedroom. And staples that weren't removed. Nail wasn't removed. Flaking paint. Door painted and closed too quickly. Paint's all flaking. Hole in the door, hole in the door. This is the overspray from the ceiling of the wall texture. It's all rough now and incorporated in the door. Just bumps or drips. Staples. They're just so many and so obvious that I don't understand not seeing them. Holes in the door that weren't filled. Screw hole. Staples and holes. Drips. Hole. Across the front windows have holes and staples. The closet. Just holes and staples and nails that just weren't addressed. And inside the closet have the long crack in the wall, holes, hardware that should have been removed, nails. Bottom of the trim never was painted. Back of the trim never was painted. I would always fill the cracks when I did it. Just nails and hooks. And the bathroom, again, where the door was closed and it was wet, got excess paint dripping. So that's why it's stuck and cracked. The vanity originally was shoved in the corner of the wall, but that made it such that the shutoff valve wouldn't turn off. It was jammed all the way to the left up against the side of the cabinet wall in that same position, so it could not turn. Now that it's been moved over, I do have a crappy little gouge in the wall that looks like a remodel after the remodel. Medicine cabinet, the bottom lip just could have been caulked in. We use the same medicine cabinet. The paint is different there, so I don't know what, just never was painted, I don't believe. Paint on the glass. Drip point. Back edge of the framing. Just all cracked and separated from the wall, never was caulked. The hole in the new window installation inside the frame never was filled. The shower stall was done, thought it turned out pretty nicely. The framing around it was never caulked against the wall. It almost seems accidental, but the majority of it's just not filled in. Across the top, it's never was cleaned up or repainted. It's got mud smudge all along there. The tile never got a final wipe down. The overspray from the ceilings or the walls is now on all the chrome towel bars. So those were not removed or paint taped or covered or in any way. So now they're all gunked up and probably need to be replaced. There was paint on the floor there. I do see that they must have seen that when they moved the cabinet. And I think that is about it.